I like when they give Amy and Topanga scenes.
Mm-hmm. Me too. It's like they should do it more often.
When these dads meet world, watching Boy Meets World. We grew up on the show, now we have kids and host a podcast. We watch each episode and then share our thoughts and grades. When these dads meet world.
They want you to take the roles.
They absolutely do want you to take those roles. I am Tyler. Welcome back to Dad's Meet World, the classic, the most spectacular, the family matters, if you will, the step by step, the full house podcast where we go through Boy Meets World step by step, day by day. And we are finishing a story known as a long walk to Pittsburgh. This is part two, baby. So I'll be your host for this portion. Dad number one, Tyler, said that already. And joining me now is dad number two.
Previously on Dads Meet World, it's Brett.
Very nice. Brett, how are you? And is there anything you want to talk about?
I'm doing pretty well. I don't really have anything new to talk about. Life is good. The sun is shining. The moon is out actually as we're recording. So yeah, life is good. How about you? What's up with you?
Very nice. Very good. Well, unfortunately, again, we're recording this before baby is here, but baby should be here
I was just
now
going to
as
ask you, are you
this
enjoying time with
being
baby?
released. Yes, I'm sure if we talk to future me, enjoying baby time, hopefully all that has gone smoothly. I guarantee it has, and everything is happy, and everyone's getting sleep because that's what happens when you first have a baby. Everybody sleeps. Yeah. So thank you. I think this might be a good time, Brett, because one of our complaints we've had, and even our guest from a few weeks ago talked about this complaint as well, is that Topanga is so underutilized and Amy is so
Yes.
underutilized. And, we were going to talk about this in the last episode, but we didn't really get there because it was a long road to get to Topanga's leaving and Cory can't accept it. And now, as we get into this episode, we get a good amount of Topanga talks, Amy talks. Cory still talks a good amount, but it really is
Mhm.
driven by Topanga and Amy in this episode. And I love it. I adore this episode. This is an episode that I used to watch a lot, especially when I was in college and trying to get a little inspiration and a little gusto to be like, okay, important thing I talked to my parents about. Here is the episode where Cory is talking back to his parents and really giving it to them, not in a bad way, but just in a way of like, hey, I have these thoughts, accept them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Cory's bold and quite possibly would not pass the Bechtel test, but we get so much more Amy than we've had in a long time.
mhm.
And Topanga is so much more than just a she's here element. And oh, I get 2 lines this episode and then I'm gone. We get
Yep.
real meat for both of them.
Yep. Now, Brett, would you say that the greatest joy in their life, the greatest calling for them as homemakers? Maybe this is the time when the home is in trouble and they're trying to make it better.
I would say for some women who may be called to it, yes. For others who may not be called to it, no. Some are called to be homemakers, some are not.
Mhm. I've really wanted to hear your wife's take on the whole situation. I didn't know if she heard about it yet. All I can think
Oh,
about
yeah.
is I'd like to quote Peyton Manning at this time. Just our idiot kicker just started talking and he shouldn't have been talking. Who listens to the kicker anyway? What does he do?
I will say, now I'm not going to say in defense or an attack of Mr. Butker. If you want to comment on any of his comments, you should read the full content of the speech.
Right.
And remember, it's a Catholic man giving a commencement speech to a Catholic college.
Yep.
That's all.
It is.
So,
It's.
and remember, in
I
this
mean,
day of outrage, don't be so quick to take one or two sentences and attack someone.
Yeah.
Remember, context is king, and there may be 3 or 4 sentences around those 1 or 2 that you might need to read or listen to. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say in defense of or a condemnation of. Just remember, good-looking people, it's up to you to figure out context. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what your context should be. That's all.
Yeah. But none of these words surprised us. None of these words should be shocking. It is what it is. The funniest part is that every time he comes up to kick now, there's gonna be a reaction.
Oh,
And
yeah. We live in that we've
honest to
talked
goodness,
about the polarized world we live in.
yeah. Well, the thing is too is that there's no way this is the first time people have heard him give out these thoughts. It's just the first time it's recorded and really latched onto. That's just the way it is. He's given other commencement speeches before, and I'm sure they've been very similar.
I'm sure, especially if they were to the
So.
same school or similar schools.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I think as Dads Meet World, we just want to make sure we put a stamp out there of women can be whatever they want to be.
Oh, definitely. Yes. The female, to any women listening to Dads Meet World, if you are called to be a homemaker, be a homemaker. If you are called to be an electrician, a plumber, a communications major, banker, CPA,
COOs.
COO, CFO, whatever you are led to be, whatever your degree is in, go for it. Whatever God is calling you into, whatever role, whatever position, yes, if that is what God is calling you into, go do it. We fully support whatever you're being called into. Period.
Yeah. And if your husband happens to make millions of dollars kicking a football, you have every right to just not work. And that's okay. And if you're like
for
most
some for some people it's pretty easy to just fall into some roles.
Yeah. And if you're like most married couples at this point that both people have to work or you don't eat anything, yeah, that's also okay.
Yeah.
Um yeah. I wasn't wanting you to dig into any dirt for you, Brett. I just thought it was funny.
Oh, I am confident enough that I can navigate any waters that come my way with any of those things, because I truly, I'm not going to dive in deep because it's something someone else said. It's not my opinion. I have my own opinions on the topic, and I am ready and willing to share them. And whatever someone else said, we have to, in our world, we do have to remember that we are very quick to jump on 1 or 2 sentences or a singular thought, and we are quick to attack someone or defend someone for a singular thought or a singular statement. And I am very big on context and how we need to view things within context, no matter who said it, no matter who wrote it, no matter who thought it. Okay, thinking is a little hard, but it is, it's an exercise in patience, really, more than anything. Always take time to explore and examine things within the context they are given, within the context they're written, within what they're said, and within the context of where they fall within what they're given.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone is truly said something ridiculously, monumentally stupid, then yes, have at it.
So, Brett, going based on Cory's logic over not listening and only taking a few words of what you said and jumping on that, what it sounds like, since you're defending him, that you agree with everything he just said.
Did you say Cory?
Yeah, from the Cory's actions of these last 2 episodes, based on that, clearly you're saying you're defending what he said.
I defend Cory's right to do what he said. I don't
No,
defend
sorry.
Cory's intelligence.
Based on the way Cory acts, based on how you're talking about the moment with the kicker and the words, now you're defending him is based on the way Cory. Let's just get into the episode, Brett.
I'm lost. I'm so lost in that. Yeah, let's get into it. Good looking people. We're looking at the 17th episode of season 4, A Long Walk to Pittsburgh, Part 2. Cory is taking Topanga's departure very hard and is wavering between depression and anger. Fortunately for him, a surprise visitor comes to help him. Topanga is back. Spoiler alert. It happens in the first act. But the couple will need to convince their friends and family that theirs is a true love if they want a shot of her staying in Philadelphia. This episode is written by Mark Blutman and Howard Busgang, good friends here of the show. Well, we like them. Directed by Jeff McCracken, originally aired February 14th, 1997, so no break between last week and this week, and currently enjoys an IMDb rating of 8.9. Now, last week we had 14.41 million viewers for part 1. Tyler, how many do you think we had for part 2?
You know what? We're going big, Brett. It's a part 2. It's a big deal. Let's go with 15.
Ooh, I'm sorry you lost the showcase. We actually had a drop off to 14.10.
How is that possible?
I guess people
It's a
thought
part
that
2.
Topanga was
Don't
leaving
you
the
want to know
show.
what happened?
It's
still the 14,
thought
but
she
still.
was leaving the show. Yeah, it's still in the 14, but there's a slight drop off there. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. I guess there might be a small portion that. Well, it was on Valentine's Day that it aired. So there is a possibility that some of the viewers were out on Valentine's Day dates, or there were Valentine's Day dances at high schools or middle schools. Mm-hmm. So that could account for
That's very fair.
They probably recorded it on their VCRs and watched it when they got home, because the Nielsen's did not track recordings.
Fair. Well, and I will say that it's part of the problem is too in this time is sorry, that's not what I want to say. Problem with Friday night TV is that you're competing against a lot of other things. And one of the reasons that as time has progressed, less and less big shows are on Friday nights because they're fighting with so many things. And a lot of TV executives said, we're done with Fridays. We're not doing anything big anymore on Fridays because they weren't having as many viewers on Fridays. I feel like TGIF was really the last hurrah on anything big airing on Fridays.
Oh, it was. Totally.
So, but even still,
no
the audience on a Friday night for Boy Meets World was nothing compared to Seinfeld's audience just a night or two ahead of time.
Thursday night through the 90s and beyond, I mean, not so much anymore, but through the late 80s into the 90s and into the early aughts, Thursday night was the night.
Mm-hmm. So it's so weird because we have a previously on Boy Meets World, and it goes through the highlights of the last episode. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is because it's considered part of the episode. Like, I went to press, skip preview. There is no preview. It's part of the episode. It's so strange. Because on modern day streaming, you have skip intro, skip preview. You're into the episode. It's part of the episode.
Yes, it is.
But I'm going to skip ahead because we If you listen to the last episode, if you also watched the last episode, you know what's going on. So anywho, we're in the Matthews
If you
living
didn't, why
room.
are you jumping in on part 2?
Right? But we're in the Matthews living room because the most romantic place in all of Philadelphia is Chubby's and the Matthews' living room.
I have a note in here of why is this date taking place? Why is this makeout date taking place in the Matthews well-lit living room?
There is a child in the other room. You don't have a makeout session with a child just a few feet away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But anywho, apparently Cory and Sean are on a date with what did they refer to them as? The Sparrow Sisters.
Yes.
The Sparrow Sisters. Would you like to, do you have a
I do, yes.
thing on
Rosie and Becky Sparrow, foreign exchange students. We'll start with Rosie, played by Katie Johnston.
They don't speak our language.
I noted that too. Rosie's played by Katie Johnston, first and only appearance on Boy Meets World. I believe Rosie was Cory's date. 15 acting credits to her name, including The New Lassie, The Torkelsons with Minkus, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, Coach, Clockmaker, Charmed, Once and Again, and others. Has not appeared on camera since 2000. And Becky, played by Emma Ridley, first and only appearance on Boy Meets World, only 4 acting credits to her name, including this episode, The World is Full of Married Men, Hammer House of Horror, and Return to Oz. This episode is her last credited role in Hollywood. So did not act in Hollywood again after this. Apparently making out with Ryder Strong was the peak of her Hollywood career.
It's just so odd because I know there's not much time with them, but like I very distinctly from my childhood remembered them. So like I feel like they should have gone on to have a more successful career.
Yeah,
but then if we remember last week's conversation, there's other reasons to get out of Hollywood, I guess. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's a shame.
Yeah, we don't see much of Emma or Katie in Hollywood after this. Yeah, or any of Emma after this.
That's a shame.
But yes, they don't want Sean to be a rushy boy.
Yes, a rushy boy, because they're from England and they have a 6-month visa, and they're trying to catch up on the dating scene. Apparently,
you have a beautiful girl from another country who doesn't understand our language, and you haven't done a thing.
Yes, I love the desperation of Sean. Like last week, Sean was, hey, there's something real bad going on, and then I don't think anything's bad going to happen because what type of TV show would do that?
Yeah.
And then this week it's back to I desperately need to make out with girls or I'm gonna die.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks since Topanga left, and has Sean given up on Cory and Topanga?
Apparently, although anytime Cory is
makeout sessions
single,
are fine.
Well, anytime he's like he doesn't have a responsibility of a relationship, that's when Sean feels like they're able to go into the world together and make chaos. It's the most Barney-like he ever acts.
Have you met Cory?
By Barney, I mean Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother.
Challenge accepted.
Mm-hmm. Talk about a dud of a finale. Anywho, Cory is sad. He has a beautiful girl who is interested in talking with him and potentially making out with him. Sean is super upset. He wants him to go do something. These girls don't understand our language.
I think you speak English very well.
Yes. Yes, the girls from England speak English very well. Who would have thought? The other day we were watching something.
We don't really speak English here. We speak American.
Yeah. So we were watching something, and there was someone from Australia on, and Grayson goes, "Well, how do you say this in Australia?" And my wife and I looked at him like, "Honey, they speak English there. It just sounds different."
Foster's. It's Australian for beer.
Yeah. So
Fun commercials.
yes, Becky attempts to interact with him, and then it ends up going down that. No, it's Rosie. Sorry, Rosie, because Becky and Sean are on the date. Essentially, they're just making out the whole time, other than the time that he is yelling at him. But Cory eventually does tell Rosie about. No.
I believe Rosie is Cory's date. Yes.
Yes, he tells after Cory attempts to pretend like he's on the phone with Topanga, which he's not. The phone doesn't ring. But Cory and Rosie eventually talk on the chair because there's enough room for two people on there comfortably, of course. That he fell in love with a girl. He had to say goodbye. He didn't get the chance to say goodbye to her. He did have a chance. He just didn't take advantage of it. And Rosie just says, "That's the saddest. That's the most beautiful and heartfelt thing I have ever heard." Cory goes, "Thank you. Do you mind if I cry my eyes out right now? Only if I can too." And so the two of them cry together,
holding each other, and Sean thinks they're making out finally.
Yes, because Becky says, he's quite a rushy boy too." He goes, "Well, I taught him everything I knew." What did you teach him, Sean? What is the implication of that, you weirdo?
How to be a rushy
But
boy.
Then we get Cory sitting in Topanga's empty bedroom. Though I will say, for a family that moved like boom, 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 super quick, they got everything out of there really fast.
Yeah, they really didn't leave much of anything behind.
Yeah. I mean, we're only seeing the bedroom,
further
but still.
adds weight to the theory that Topanga knew ahead of time far enough that she wasn't just rushed into this.
Yeah. I will say this is the point where Eric is my favorite character this episode.
Cory, dinner.
Yeah, that's the first line he hears. Cory, dinner.
I found this wet
And
outside.
we go to the Matthews' kitchen. Cory walks in, he's soaked. Eric walks in, he's soaked. And you really have like Eric with like really intense like wet hair. Apparently he walked there because he should have driven, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, just around the corner.
Yeah. Also, they moved out of the house, didn't lock the windows.
Episode's got an episode.
Episode's got an episode. Somehow they walk in.
This
come
house
on in.
is sat
Good
empty
boy.
for 2
Good boy.
weeks.
Get out. Get you out of the rain. It's raining. Mommy, Daddy, I found a wounded puppy outside. Can we keep him? Can we?
Cory is just so depressed and despondent. It's not healthy.
No. And I will say that this is the first time that I have a bit of a beef with Alan, because Eric is attempting to support his brother. He's trying to be there for him. At first he's making jokes. Now he's saying, "Hey, I was with the Francesca, and when we broke up, it hurt, but eventually I got over the pain, and eventually you're going to get over this thing too." He's like, Dad goes, "Who's Francesca?" "No one. I'm just trying to help. Nobody wants that." Okay. It's like, well, yeah, like you got to try everything right now.
I see that. I can also appreciate Alan's perspective too, that he doesn't want Eric's help to go far enough to the point where he's lying to Cory. Fair. And I'll support that perspective. He doesn't want him to go to the point of making up people and stories.
Yeah, I guess you have a point there. If he's making up someone, trying to seem like he is relating to him, but he's not, that could be misleading and
Mm-hmm.
also upsetting. So I could see that.
If that's why if that's why Alan's got a problem with it, I totally support that statement.
But yeah, we get into some immediate back and forth between Cory and Amy, and Cory, for some reason, thinking that Amy is happy that Topanga has left and that he's hurting. And she's trying to explain, I'm not happy about this, but I do think it's healthier for you to meet other girls and experience life away from Topanga.
Yeah.
And he's like, but we're in love and we're supposed to be together.
But we also find out that Cory's apparently the one who's been making the effort. And in 2 weeks' time, it's been him. He's making the
apparently
phone calls
in 2 weeks'
and writing
time,
the letters.
He's trying to call, he's writing letters, she's not writing back, and he's not gonna drive 300 miles just to be rejected and look like a fool. And at that same time, he's opening the door, and there's Topanga.
And the audience erupts.
Yes. You would have thought that Topanga has been off the show for like a whole season with the reaction that they give.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But in fairness, and our biggest complaint so far about season 4, in a way, Topanga we knew at the end of the season. Yeah, she's been here, but has she been here?
Not really.
Like, they cut her hair and then she kind of went to the background.
Yeah, hello, bye-bye. I'm so at the mall, and she really hasn't been back from the mall much.
You have no idea why I'm so upset right now. Do I ever? That's the last time we really had conflict.
Taco.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, but Topanga's like, aren't you going to hug me? And Cory, is happy to see her.
He doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. And they're just like, oh, hi. Like, oh, hi. Do you want your parents to come in? I just love how Eric's closed doors. Like, actually, there's no parents. Do your parents know you're here? I'm betting on no.
Yeah. Eric serving as the narrator for that is such a gas. It's just the face acting, the over exaggerated motions, just
I love that they're like, Topanga, they know you're here. There's no, they don't.
Yeah.
But again, outside of Eric's funniness, you have a teenager who is in a different city than she is physically supposed to be at.
Without her parents' knowledge of where she is. She's run away from home.
If she had to take a bus, because depending upon what their car situation is, they may only have one car right now. Or maybe she has her own car. Who knows? But like, regardless, that's a long distance to be as a high schooler, a minor, and not tell your parents.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd lose it if I find out my son was, from Erie to Pittsburgh away from us. Actually, just in Erie without telling me at this point,
Yeah. Yeah. If one of my teenagers wound up 2 cities away, I'd have, without my knowledge, I'd start getting upset.
Right. Oh,
much less 300 miles away.
If you got a text, hey, just saw Toby, downtown Cleveland, you'd be like, I'm sorry. Toby's not in downtown Cleveland.
I'm sorry. He's supposed to be here. What's he doing 40 minutes from here? Okay, 40 minutes. So generous there, but
yeah.
But yeah. But I mean, this is pretty serious stuff. Topanga is effectively a runaway.
Yeah. And I love that Amy and Alan's immediate response is, we have to tell her parents now. And
Yes,
I think
I clipped a part of
in
this
co-
conversation.
Yes, please.
Why would they be worried about me now? They weren't worried about me when they decided to move. I told them how much Cory meant to me and how I couldn't be away from him. They said I was too young to say things like that I didn't know.
So you ran away from them?
I ran away to Cory.
Okay. Just got serious now.
Topanga, I'm gonna have to call them.
No, Mom, didn't you hear what she just said? Her parents don't understand her. Okay, just like you two don't understand me. We want to be together, okay? That's what we want.
Topanga, I know you miss Cory, but to come here without your parents' permission, that's just wrong.
How can it be wrong, Mom, if she loves me enough to do that? I mean, I'm sorry I didn't do it myself.
Help me, Ellen.
First of all, we are not the enemy. We understand that you two want to be together, but this is not the way to go about it.
I love that line from Alan so much.
Mm-hmm.
I just think because he has heard probably Amy as husbands, we hear all of the thoughts of our wives, those that are listening and paying attention. So there's no way that for the past 2 weeks, Alan has not heard from his wife about how worried about her child she is, how nervous she is about what's going on, and how she's also worried about Topanga. And I'm sure he's watched as his child, whether they've had a conversation or not, but he's watched him mope around and be sad and be hurting. And it's all boiled up to this point now. And I like how he says, this is now serious.
Yep.
And, making sure it's clear. And I will say, in my own marriage, I've used these words before. We are on the same team. I am not the enemy. We are here working this together. Essentially that's what he's trying to do is be like, okay, we are here together. Like, we're not the enemy. Like, we are going to work this out.
Yep.
But it's so important they call parents. You can't not.
No, you cannot not do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think
And I just, yeah, no, and it's that point of, Cory only understands it in the realm of, well, if you call them, they're going to force her to go home and force her away from me. And that's not what they're trying to communicate. It's, we have to let them know. And this is the first time we're seeing that played out right in front of them. Because in the past, whenever, a fugitive boy has decided to move into their house, quote unquote, without them knowing, they immediately called parents. Anytime there's been things going on, they've done things behind the scenes they never saw, they didn't know they did it. And now it's right in front of their face. It's all boiling over. And one last thing I'll add about the scene, I love how Eric was telling jokes and now is just sitting there with them. He's not trying to leave because it's too serious. Right. He is not butting in. He's not making jokes. And he's just trying to figure out, what can I do right now?
Yeah. And I want to put something out there for the good looking people to keep in the back of their mind too. Something that's always sat with me a little bit off about Michael Jacobs when he defines love. Cory and Topanga, and we'll see this run as a thread throughout. Cory and Topanga are very focused on being together. They're not focused at all about anything outside of themselves. Each one is focused on what they individually want and what they individually feel. And we'll see this come up throughout their conversations throughout. But it's always something that has popped up to me when on a Michael Jacobs show when he talks about love, period. And I'll come back to it later, but it's just something I wanted to put out there early on in our episode. As we're half hour in. Yeah, so Alan and Amy are going to
I was-
call, and Cory and Topanga are going to head to the living room.
I didn't know if there was more you're adding to that, so I was like, "Are you saying more?"
No,
Not
no,
happening
that
more?
was just
Okay.
that was just set up at this point.
Yep. Yeah, but there we transition into the living room, and Cory and Topanga. Topanga is now wearing apparently Cory's clothes because her clothes are soaking wet.
Mhm.
Again, because she was just standing out in the rain. And
Mhm.
you know, Cory and her are talking, like, well, what happened? And they're both saying, we both were kind of getting busy, and almost like a little accusatory of too busy to answer the phone, too busy to write. You went to the school dance. How'd you know that? I just guessed. And so they're just kind of going back and forth a little bit about why didn't you call? Why didn't you call? Why didn't you, And at the end of the day, they both were just hurting and didn't want to deal with the fact that it's just that. It's just a phone call. It's just, a letter. But honestly, and again, those are the things you have to do in a long distance relationship. Yes, it's just a phone call. But you know what? A phone call where you get to hear your other person's voice is a lot better than not knowing what's going on in their lives at all. And yeah, it's just a letter. But you know what? I have some letters that my wife and I wrote to each other when we were first dating, and we pass a notebook back and forth and would write little things to each other. And most times just, I can't wait to marry you, can't wait to marry you, those little things. But still, those are little notes and little things that we can keep for a long time. So, trust me, good looking people, there's ways to have long distance relationship that still are the classics of writing letters and phone calls and, keeping your relationship still going in the right direction if you put the effort in. I do love that the next to last time we see Sean is him popping into the house going, "Cory, the Sparrow Sisters want another date with us." And Topanga,
You're back.
The Sparrow Sisters. Were they in your mailbox?
Believe me.
Yes.
Cory was. If Cory wasn't answering the phone, he was out at the mailbox waiting for a letter.
Yes. And I just love how Alan and Amy walk in and Sean's going, "Look, she's here." And then he's like,
"Bad Topanga.
I'm out of here."
He goes from, "I taught her everything," he ran over from home, "I taught her everything she knows," to "Bad Topanga. Bad." And out the door.
Yeah. Yes. And this begins, I don't know, easily at this point, some of the best acting we've seen back and forth between Ben Savage, Daniel Fishel, and Rusty and Betsy. And they've laid a groundwork of understanding of their relationships and the understanding of who Cory and Topanga are, who Alan and Amy are, and just having this overall conversation. And do you have any of this clipped?
I did clip a little bit of Amy's and about the second half of Cory's. So let me play what I've got of Amy's.
You cannot make adult life decisions without adult life experiences behind those decisions to make them stand up.
Mom, I love her.
So you say, Cory. But what does love mean to you at 16 years old? I have been with your father for 22 years, and I am just now beginning to realize what love really means.
Wait, was that a mistake?
Great setup. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Understandably, I cut that off before Eric's, but
sorry, I can't help it. Yeah,
it's
go ahead.
A great setup for their entire conversation. I appreciate Eric's little asides because it keeps some levity during what could otherwise be a very heavy-handed segment of the episode. But it's a great setup where Amy is basically setting the table for Cory to share. What is love? I want to know from your 16-year-old perspective, what is love? Because you're throwing this word around. I've been married to your father for 22 years. I'm still learning. So you, as a 16-year-old who is throwing this word around to justify your girlfriend running away and being here and arguing that we should not call her parents and she should stay here, what is this word you're throwing around as your justification? And it's a perfect table setting for this whole segment, for this whole conversation.
Yeah. Well, you know, again, we've talked about this before, but the parents that they have shown us for the last 4 seasons, and probably some of the conversations that we've kind of filled in of like, this has to be happening when the camera's not rolling, you know, some conversations, and they're happening now. And I love the directness of Amy. And, you know, and I'll even say this on for myself, you know, I've been with my wife now for 14 years. We've been married now for 11 years. Every year, the understanding of love just intensifies for me even more with this woman. You know, when we got married, I understood love to a certain point, and then it changed. You know, we had our first child, when we had our second child, our third child, and now we're about to have our fourth. You know, it's just, it intensifies all the time, and a deeper understanding as you're both trying to get to know each other. I'm assuming the love that you have for Kelly has grown in the way too long of years you guys have been together.
Way too
19
long.
years. Yes.
Kelly and I will celebrate 20 years of marriage in January of 2025. We dated for a year and a half before that. We were friends before that for another year and a half, 2 years. We have 3 kids. We have, every new day is another opportunity to learn more about each other, to grow more in love with each other. And every day is a choice that we make to love each other. And so, yes, I echo everything that you say there. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Unlike at this point, Alan and Cory.
Yeah. Well,
or Amy and Cory, not Alan and Cory, Amy and Cory.
This might be a good time for me to bring in a slight annoyance I have in the writing that takes place, not in this moment in particular, but just for the rest of the show. And that is, Cory has been in love with her his whole life. From the moment he was born and she was born until whatever age they are, they've loved each other that long.
It's a pretty significant retcon that I have never been the biggest fan of. I was I'm happy with them starting in 6th grade and developing from there. I've never been the biggest fan of, we met in the sandbox at 9 months old, and I fell into the lion pit or whatever it was at the zoo, and Sean rescued me. Stop it, the goats! Stop it, you're boys. I never was the biggest fan of this retcon.
No, but it's just, and even if you say like they've loved each other for 5 years, because roughly that's when the show started. He was 11, quote unquote 11, and now he's past 16. You could arguably say for 5 years he's loved her and hasn't understood how to express that until this point. That still means something, and that's still huge for someone who's in high school. The amount of relationships at this point. And I think one of the reasons why Amy fights back with him so much is because most relationships from 16 do not last. Normally, they're closer to like seniors. 2 people start dating around senior year. Those 2 end up getting together and getting married. I mean, my sister is one of those people. Met her. She started dating her husband, but right before their senior year. But I love so much their back and forth. And the biggest thing I love about this, Brett, is Topanga is active in this conversation. She is not passive. She's speaking for herself. She's saying, this is how I feel. It's not just about Cory. And I don't know, I can't remember where exactly this happens, but at some point Cory does say, you call them, ship her back to Pittsburgh. I'm following her. We can do this all over again over there. And I think that might be part of the escalation and all that too.
I think it is. Let's play the clip of what I have of Cory's, because it's either falls right at the end of that or right after that.
And then when I was 13, Mom, she put me up against my locker. She kissed me. I mean, she gave me my first kiss. She taught me how to dance. She always was talking about these crazy things, and I never understood a word she said. All I understood was that she was the girl I sat up every night thinking about. And when I'm with her, I feel happy to be alive. Like I can do anything. Even talk to you like this. So that's what I think is love, Mom. When I'm better because she's here. And now she won't be. So I'm finished.
Yeah, I do think that is good context of what we've seen in the show so far. Of their relationship as it started, as it's blossomed, and even at points when he has dated other girls. But ultimately, all roads lead back to Topanga. This random one-off character that they had one episode and then blossomed into a giant run towards the end of the first season.
Yeah. And here is where I come back to what I set up earlier. Cory's conception of love. Michael Jacobs' conception of love is halfway there. Because what Cory says, it's all centered on how his connection to Topanga makes him feel. It makes him stronger, which is true. It makes him sit up at night thinking of her, which is a true element of love. It's also a true element of infatuation. She did all these things to him and for him. But in his talk with Amy, there's no mention given on his action, on his part to repay in kind. No talk of his choices that he's done to show love to Topanga or to be there for her. There's no mention of any sacrificial nature at play for him over the course of quote unquote 16 years. It's all emotion taking place within himself. It is half of what love is. He's got the emotional component there, but he doesn't have the active verb component of what love is there. And I know we've got 22 minutes and we've got to get a lot of stuff crammed into this. Actually, we've got 20 minutes because this episode is short. We got 20 minutes, including the previously on Boy Meets World and no tag.
Yep.
But we have a halfway definition of love coming from Cory. And this is the biggest issue I have with this episode and has been since the first time I saw it. Even as a teenager, I knew there was something off.
Yeah.
But I'll leave that there. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into that, but yeah.
Right. But I will say in response to that, that is how a lot of young people tend to view love.
It is. And
I would say that you're part of the I'd say you're part of the minority, Brett, that would go, that's strange, because I know when I was a child and I saw this, I went, yeah, Cory, take it to your mom. You know it.
I can't say 100% that at 16 I could articulate what I just did. I can't necessarily say that many 16-year-olds could articulate it any differently or better than Cory did. I'm not saying that he articulates what he has poorly. I'm just saying it's not complete.
I agree with that. On the same token, how many 16-year-olds are able to realize it's not complete yet? And they're just
Not
going
many.
based on that emotional... Right.
Exactly.
I mean, for crying out loud, Brett, I'm the guy that broke up with a girl on a mission trip, okay? I'm not saying that people around this age do a lot of thinking when it comes to their emotions.
Yeah, good-looking people. That's a fun story. But
in Pittsburgh.
It would have been nice to see Alan or Amy just ask a question like that to to just to put in there. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
Right,
some
I mean-
as a parent, not as a teenager
Right.
watching. As a parent, it'd be something I see, but we don't have the time within the constraints of the episode, and that's not
Right.
what Michael Jacobs and Blutman and Busgang were looking for.
Right. No, but as a parent, we would say to them, and why can't you feel that strong even if she's in Pittsburgh?
Exactly.
Because that is a rational thing to say to try to keep status quo.
Yes, because if in 2 weeks' time, if you can't stand the time apart in 2 weeks' time, that's not healthy. I mentioned either earlier this episode or last week's episode, if the time apart you can't survive, even the short distance, that's not love, that's codependency. And that's not healthy. And if for 2 weeks, as much as it hurts, if in 2 weeks' time you can't stand being apart like that, there is something underneath that needs addressed.
Yeah. Well, and Alan even said at one point, why don't we go to Pittsburgh? I'll talk to
he
some of my
offered it.
distributors and you can have some time with Topanga. Like, that's
a great,
reasonable.
That's a great deal, a great job on his part. But at that point, Cory was hurting because there was no reciprocation on Topanga's part, that he was calling and he wasn't getting answers. No letters in the mailbox. Of course, at that point, he'd been on a date with the Rushy Boy sisters.
Yes. The Sparrows.
The Sparrow sisters.
Yes. But we hear about an Aunt Prudence, Brett.
Yes, Aunt Prudence.
and Cory is hopeful. Maybe she'll be on our side. Maybe she'll realize we're like Romeo and Juliet. We belong together. But Prudence has never been in love, never been married, and won't even know who Romeo and Juliet were.
Yes, and we're going to meet Aunt Prudence. I'm going to get into her information right now. Aunt Prudence is played by a woman named Olivia Hussey. First and only time we'll see her in Boy Meets World. I actually would have loved to see her show up another couple times throughout the rest of this season as her role of Topanga's guardian. I think that would have been great, especially her and Feeny coming to blows metaphorical blows a couple of times. That would have been a lovely subplot. 54 acting credits to her name, including her breakout role as Juliet in Romeo and Juliet.
Which is
that
terrific.
Was a little meta moment there. Black Christmas, Jesus of Nazareth, Ivanhoe, Murder, She Wrote, It, not the latest It, the one back in the 90s. Pinky and the Brain, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Talia al Ghul, and more.
Ooh.
She has not appeared on camera since 2015.
We're Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah, I don't remember what her role was on Pinky and the Brain.
Who cares? I just had to sing the song. Yes, but Aunt Prudence is very prude. I will say, right off the bat, there's a part of me that a little wishes that she was a little closer to George Feeney's age, because it would have been nice to see George Feeney potentially after a few episodes ago where he thought he might now get back on the dating scene of having a new option.
They had some chemistry.
They did have some chemistry. Little old, but still.
Yeah.
But yes, and of course we have another classic line.
I clipped it.
Go for it.
Okay, now how's that possible? Because my aunt looks like an elephant.
That is my sister you're talking about?
She does, man.
Now, we never see
Eric.
the ants,
No.
so we can't confirm that, but wow.
We don't know if Eric means weight or skin condition. Knowing the 90s is probably weight, so they're either way, very insensitive of Eric. But
Yes.
I'm sorry, good-looking people. I know, I laugh at Eric's comment. I'm sorry, it's low-hanging fruit.
It is. It's right on there. Eric's only job is to make sure that people aren't crying this episode.
This is his
without
role.
him, it would be a
It would be a very
hardcore
heavy
drama.
episode. It would be.
If Sean wasn't there to also be funny, it would be a hardcore drama. And this show is not a drama.
I hear yelling. I'm
a-
staying. I'm here yelling.
That's my favorite too. Is I hear yelling. I'm staying. Get out. Nope. Stay.
I'm not going.
Yes, but yes, Aunt Prudence has been given specific instructions to take her home, and in the morning, put her on the train to go back to Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will have to double check because I did not actually check this. I forgot they said train, but I'm going to check to see if there's actually a train that goes from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. Now, my prediction is not. It could be similar for the Erie to Pittsburgh, where you have to go to another state or country, another state in order to get down there. But I can always check.
I would think between two major cities, there might be one a little more likely, but still, I digress.
Yeah, I'm not banking on it. So yes, that's her instructions, and Cory decides, ooh, Dad, you haven't said a word yet. Tell these two, he doesn't actually say this, but tell these two horrible women how we're supposed to be together.
Yeah, Alan's been remarkably silent through this whole affair.
He's been calm.
He has been.
It's you know how those moments where like, okay, I'm the one that's upset right now. You have to be calm, or hey, you have to be upset about this because I need to be calm.
Yep.
I'm upset. Do you happen to have Alan's?
I do have Alan's comments. Yes.
Yes, go for it.
Well, you may have known Topanga since you were born, but I've known your mother like forever. Okay?
So,
what I know about your mother, besides her favorite food and color, spaghetti and red, and the thing that I respect in her the most is that she has always put her faith in love. When she sees it, when she recognizes it. Which is why she chose me, when her parents told her not to.
Yeah, but Dad, she wants us to have other relationships.
Love is faith, Cory. Do you love your mother?
Yeah, of course I do.
Then have faith.
That's probably my favorite line throughout the whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love how he's making clear of what your mother cannot say to you right now is that she loves you and she believes in love. Mm-hmm. And she recognizes it.
She can see some things that you can't. She has wisdom that you don't.
Right.
You love your mom. Trust her. Trust her judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, love is faith. Trust love.
But that is remarkably powerful words. To have faith in someone is to love them. To love them is to have faith.
Yes, because I mean, when you do love someone, it does require you to place faith in them that they are going to A, reciprocate, B, place your good and your wellness above their own, and C, that they're going to protect you, that they're going to be there for you day after day. And then they're not just going to wake up someday and decide, oh no, I'm not going to today.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of faith to love someone.
Yeah, it does. Well, what is the old saying? You're either building up your case why you should stay together, or you're building up your case why you should not be together.
Mm-hmm.
So, love is faith. And I love how he turns it back on Cory. Do you love your mom? He says, yeah, of course I do. Then have faith.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what your wife's favorite color and food is, Brett?
It changes over time, but Yeah.
My problem with my wife is she can't pick a favorite color because she has 3 colors that she loves evenly.
Yeah. That has been consistent. It's always been purple.
Nice. Yeah. I
But
say purple and green.
Actually, right for the longest time, queso is always high on the list, but anything Mexican.
Mhm. I thought Mexican was going to be her favorite.
Yeah.
Did we? I don't know if you can remember this, but for my wedding, did we have you and Toby in the purple?
I don't remember without looking at pictures.
Yeah, I have to look at it too. I think for whatever reason, I'm remembering you in the purple.
Yeah, I might have been, but I'd have to look at pictures to remember.
I can't recall for sure. Anywho, not important. But yeah, I love how Amy then turns it around and says, I've also known this girl her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I also love her. And I also care about her a lot. And it was wrong of her parents to take her out of school in her junior year and have her go to a new school, and then to have her senior year again at a new school and have her get ready for college. It's irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
I just love how Prue's response is, are you saying my sister and brother-in-law are irresponsible? Yes, I am. Then keep talking.
Common ground.
Yes. And I do love that. It's like our common enemy is the parents that took the children away.
Yes. Yeah. So Cory and Topanga are gonna go out on the patio, the deck, whatever it is.
Yep. They go to the back or side room, depending upon who you're talking to. And we get a classic George Feeny coming to talk to them. And this is the first time that we have George Feeny talking to Topanga. Not Mr. Feeny talking to Topanga, but just George.
Yes.
Which is a nice, little moment for them, the 3 of them.
It is. I'm part of it.
Good.
Believe it or not, there was a time in my life when I cared for someone as deeply as you two care for each other now.
You believe we love each other?
And for no reason I understood, my wife was taken from me, and I haven't been so deeply in love since.
Feeny believes we love each other.
I believe that when you find love, you hold on to it and cherish it, because there is nothing finer, and it may never come again. And that, my dears, is the most important thing that I could teach you.
Who is that guy?
That's Mr. Feeny.
He knows everything.
Now, Brett, if we could go back for a moment, all the way to the pilot, and we're in detention, and Mr. Feeny angrily says, I am going to teach you something. And him trying to make clear to, at the time, the 11-year-old Cory Matthews that, people have spent their whole lives trying to define love. People are spent countless hours and so much of their life trying to put into words what love is. And the poetry and the plays and, nowadays the movies and the different books. People are trying to describe this and they can't. They really can't get to the essence of that. And even, this show can't even get to the true essence of what love truly deeply is. No matter how many times they try to do it. So I just love how we almost have a full circle moment of Cory has finally understood. And now is that he's able to talk to him, not so much on the level of, you better understand what I'm trying to tell you. You don't understand everything. To, you now understand something and you have something that's truly special. Try to hold on to it and cherish it.
Yep.
And I do love that they address the fact he says, unbeknownst to me, for whatever reason, my wife was taken from me, and I have not found a love that has equaled it.
Yep. Yeah, I really appreciate the way they put that in there.
Yeah. Why can't he and his friend Elizabeth throw everything away? He's had a love that he already threw everything away for, and he doesn't feel that way for her. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I really appreciate the way that George lays it all out there, and he's open and vulnerable with Cory and Topanga, and I love that he sneaks in "my dears" there, and he lets the walls down, and he's really letting them know just how much they mean to him.
Yeah. So I felt like I cut you off there before.
Oh no, that's fine. But he's letting them know that they're not just his students.
Yeah. Well, and in respect to him, they try to separate from each other. He says, no, we're not in the classroom. Just stay as you are.
Yeah.
So that's also nice. And
who is
this
that?
does harken back a little bit too to when he has that moment with Cory about his own father and how his father wanted to be with his drinking buddies.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just these little special moments that he gets to have with Cory and now with Topanga. So.
Yep. Then Aunt Prudence just does not approve of the ideas that George Feeny is putting into the minds of young, impressionable people. But he really does defend himself, and he defends himself well.
I beg your pardon?
38 years experience as a teacher in the public school system, where he's been responsible for, he estimates, 30,000 students that he has taught, holding none in as high regard as Cory and Topanga.
You like me?
Stay out of this.
Again, hearkening back to season 1.
Yep. And Prudence calls him, the only thing I know about you is you are as snappy as you are verbose. Well, there we are then.
There we are.
Yeah, I love the chemistry they have. I would have loved to see Aunt Prudence show up a couple more times this season, butt heads with Feeny a couple more times over some school assignment or something. I love that little chemistry they have there as adversaries. It doesn't have to become romantic or anything. That the adversarial nature they have, their ideological differences. I would have loved to see that show up more.
Yep. Brett, I think we've been spoiled by shows like The Office, where eventually the show progresses and the side characters become more prominent, And this is not that show yet. We're not there where you can have 12 people as in your main cast.
It is a different age of TV, my friend.
It really is, unfortunately. Michael Jacobs, probably the best executive director at setting up characters that are really interesting and would love to come back, and they never
do. The best guy at preparing us for characters we'll love and never see again.
I'm verbose.
And I'm verbose. Yes, because Topanga is... Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say Prudence says that, she's spoken with her parents and does not agree with her decision and doesn't condone her actions, but she also does not approve of the actions of her sister and brother-in-law. And if Topanga is interested, she can stay with her to finish out her high school years.
Mm-hmm.
Which is terrific.
Yep.
And why was that not an option before?
Oh, because Jedediah and Chloe are not Chloe, actually Rhiannon, are irresponsible, as
Yep.
we all have been informed. We know Jedediah is not quite hip to reality.
No, I mean, I will say my grandfather many years ago was transferred from Pennsylvania to Michigan. And that's a big drive.
Yes,
And
it is.
my grandfather gave my dad and his sister the option of, do you want to stay here with the rest of our family, or do you want to go with me? And they both chose to stay, here. Um, and I always wondered what my life would be like if they went with my grandfather, but he eventually moved back anyway, so I guess it really didn't matter. But it goes to show that the family unit, all of us together, within the family and that loving bond, can make all the problems figured out and situated, really. And it feels like it's something that she was willing to do before, but didn't know if Topanga would go for it.
Yep.
So, Prudence coming in for the win, little Deus Ex Machina, and then we never see her again.
Yep. Topanga's just there.
Yeah. But Topanga's staying, Brett. Our long-awaited is Topanga going to be here or not was resolved, and I'm hoping she's now officially part of the actual overall cast and not just special guest or recurring guest.
Yeah, if she's not by the end of the season, she will be in season 5.
Yeah. But I mean, I will say, this is, again, first couple of times she's really gotten to truly act and truly, dive into what's going on. So she's not just here, Brett. She's active participant.
Right. She is.
Yes. But that is an episode right there.
That's right. So, Tyler, let's hear your deep dives.
People. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
Now, good looking people, last week we talked about that from downtown Philadelphia to Pittsburgh is roughly about 4.5 hours. It is 305 miles away. To ride in a train from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, it's roughly a 7.5 hour journey. Yeah.
That's a trek.
You're talking about a whole day. So yeah, I just kept wondering, like, did she ride a bus? Did she go on a train? Either way, it's possible, I guess. But regardless, this girl made it complicated getting there, and probably took the whole day to get there too.
Yeah.
Oh, no, go back to that. Anywho, so I guess we'll go with Aunt Prudence. We mentioned the fact that she was in a Romeo and Juliet movie, and that was just called Romeo and Juliet from 1968. When two young members of a feuding family meet, forbidden love ensues.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yep, starring Olivia Hussey and Leonard Whiting. Yes, Whiting. Just trying to see if there's anyone else I knew from this cast, and I don't. Directed by Franco Zeffirelli. I like how writers William Shakespeare.
Gotta give credit.
Franco Busianti and Massiano McCoy. Trying to see what else it's willing to tell us about it, but I'm not seeing any other big details. Yes, okay. Well, let's move on. No, that's not what I want. I kept wondering, Brett, why? Like, I get a joke about it's a long walk to Pittsburgh. I get that, but where is that coming from? Because they like to use like something from culture and put it in and kind of adapt it. like Chick Like Me, you know. And I found something that I think might be it. I could be wrong, but we're going to say it is. So there's a little book. It's an autobiography called Long Walk to Freedom. And it is, it is a autobiography from President Nelson Mandela from South Africa. It was first published in 1994. The book profiles his early life, coming of age, education, and 27 years spent in prison uh, under the apartheid government. Mandela was regarded as a terrorist and jailed on Reuben Island for his role as a leader of the then outlawed African Nation Congress, ACN, and it is armed winged with Ankowiswis. I'm not sure what that is. He later achieved international recognition as a leader, as president in the rebuilding of the country once segregationist society. And the last chapters of the book describe his political ascension and his belief that the struggle still continues against apartheid in South Africa. Trying to see if I really seeing it. So my guess is that's kind of roughly where that comes from. Because again, they like take from books, from movies, from TV shows. So let's talk about love, Brett.
Talk about love.
So, this is all coming from a sorry. This is coming from an article from Pew Research. That's what I was trying to figure out. Why people got married from their research. Apparently, love is 88%, making a life of commitment, 81%. Companionship, 76. Having children, 49. A relationship recognized as a religious ceremony, 30. Establish or financial stability, 28. And for the legal right and benefits, 23. Apparently, 40% of all marriages are remarriages. Okay, I'm confused by this website and what I'm looking at. Let's just all get away from that. Because I am now confusing myself. But luckily, I had a different thing about love.
Precious thing in the whole world.
Have you ever fallen in love?
5 times a day.
All right, so this is 21 high school sweetheart marriage statistics. So apparently the average of the first-time bride today is 26 years old. High school sweethearts that get married while still teenagers only have a 45% chance of having their marriage last 10 years. High school sweethearts that wait until they are the age 25 to get married have a 10-year success rate of 78%. Only 19% of people who marry their high school sweetheart attend college, and 14% of couples had met in school. Interesting. 1 out of 5 people who marry their high school sweetheart even get to college, no matter what age they are. They happen to get married. Less than 2% of people who marry their high school sweetheart earn a degree from college. Interesting. Less than 2% of all marriages actually to a high school sweetheart. That was the one I was looking at and thought that was so interesting. I will say, in 1970, the average age for the first-time bride was 21 years old. And apparently all marriages have seen a decline in divorce rates over the last 30 years. Fascinating. Oh, here's another one. According to a 2006 survey, only 14% of people actually met at school. Meeting through friends or meeting at work were more common ways that couples met and got married. And I will say, good-looking people, however you meet your person is up to whenever you meet your person. And for everyone, it looks differently. Sometimes it's school, sometimes it's college, sometimes it's work, sometimes it's, hey, have you met this person? And sometimes it's through the internet. But there's always a way to meet the person you're supposed to be with. It's just a matter of, have you met them or not? And the last thing I'll say is, not everyone has to be with somebody. And can you like yourself enough to just be with yourself? Because I think that's something I had to learn before I met my wife. And again, what do I know? I'm just a married man. But Brett, those are the deep dives.
Then let's talk about what we learned.
You know anything about the Odyssey? Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach you that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
Yes, let's draw pictures. Tyler, what did you learn?
I learned that it's very important when your spouse feels the more passionate that you have to be the calm one. Very often, I say that because very often, good-looking people, it's going to be surprising to you, but I'm the chatty one in my marriage. And so if one of us has a problem, I often vocalize my stuff a lot sooner. My wife tends to stew in things a little bit longer. And so if my wife has lots of things to say on a subject, I normally quiet myself down and I let her lead the charge, because if she's saying it, she's thought about it thoroughly and a lot. And so just that reminder of, when your spouse is the one that feels passionately, let them lead that charge and lead that discussion, and try to keep a level head.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
What about you, Brett?
I was reminded of the importance to teach my children the whole of what love is, not just to rely on the emotional component, but of the active nature, the sacrificial nature, so that they don't just get hung up on a feeling that you feel when you feel something about someone, that even if they can't articulate it, that as they grow up, they will know what it is to love someone and how to recognize when they truly are loved by someone else. Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
Yes. So.
I'm right?
No, you're exactly right.
So am I done with my education? Can I go?
How would you grade part two of A Long Walk to Pittsburgh? Wait, let me guess. You weren't happy with it. You're going with a D.
I'm going to be honest with you. I am a little disappointed, and I didn't like this episode as much as I liked the last one. And with that said, this is an A plus because I love this episode. And regardless of what complaints I might have about what love is and some of the annoyances, the two episodes together truly tell one beautiful story, and it's a story that will continue and it will propel this show throughout the next few seasons of what is this show about. It's about us falling in love with this couple. And if you don't believe yet through watching the show that Cory and Topanga are goals for teenagers, then you've watched the wrong show.
Well, I'm gonna go with an A plus as well.
Nice.
As much as the one issue I had with it, it is within the world of Boy Meets World, and there are enough people within Cory's life that are acting as guardrails and are acting as good examples of what love is, and will serve to teach this 16-year-old boy how to love and how to be able to articulate and how to express love. It's a solid second half to a story, and it's 20 minutes where we get to explore in depth this relationship that Cory and Topanga have, and we get really the bedrock that the next 3 seasons will be built upon for their relationship. So A plus for me.
I agree with that. Yes. And I'm verbose.
Well, there we are then.
Yes. So I owe you a dad joke.
Yes, I am owed a dad joke.
All right.
Before I push that outro button.
Well, since we're talking about love, Brett, what is the difference between love and marriage?
About $80.
Love is one long and sweet dream, and marriage is the alarm clock. I got one more.
All right.
How are relationships like algebra?
Oh, this has got to be an equation, but I'm not going to get it. What is it?
Because you look at your ex and wonder why.
Yep. All right. Well, good looking people. Thank you for sticking with us through this this 2-part episode for Cory and Topanga's love. You can send us a message about your own thoughts at dadsmeetworld@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts on social media across Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok at dadsmeetworld. And pick up some dadalicious love swag at dadsmeetworld.threadless.com. So Tyler, until next time, I'll see you. Love, good looking.
Back to you, good looking.
I want to be normal, spud. You know, how can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid?
We are the Dimmers.
Nutcase?
You think?
Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios, tell your story. All right, so shall we run this waterlogged puppy over?
Well, you should never run over a log because it's going to damage the car, and you should never run over a puppy because that's not good, unless you're the governor of South Dakota.
Oof. Well, let's not get too political.